Well, this sucks! You know, living in the mountains back at my base was easier than I realized. I lived there for years, I endured a few winters, and it rarely dipped below freezing. By my first winter, I had electricity and space heaters. It took a lot of grinding and a lot of planning, but it was pretty easy to accomplish. So much so that when I relocated, I was pretty sure this would be an easy transition. Yeah, that was a very wrong and stupid thing for me to think. It turns out that my colony got used to living a softer, cushier lifestyle. Once you got past the daily raids, nuclear waste, and swarms of man-eating insects, they had a pretty sweet thing going at the old base. Now they were back to where they started, sleeping shoulder to shoulder in some burnt-out crack shack. Except now it was freezing and they had an entire goddamn zoo to take care of. Now, I'm not a smart man by any means, but all of this orange and red on my screen is both confusing and scary. I'm about to have a 12-man meltdown on my hands, and if my colonists were attacked while they were busy chewing crayons and smelling the chairs, I'd be screwed. The first thing I needed to do was expand my fortress. Wait, hang on. Ah, there we go. Expand my abandoned meth lab. I started building walls and I made my pen bigger. I gave it some thought and then I made a realization. I don't need all of these animals to carry all of my stuff anymore, right? We were having layoffs at the new Skater Boy compound. Sorry to those who didn't make the cut. Your time here has been appreciated and you will make a great sofa. I skipped wooden walls and jumped straight to stonework. I didn't have the time or resources to build a shelter and my defenses, which meant my house was gonna have to do both. Once I restored power to my base, I'd need to start building hydroponics basins immediately. I got so used to food being a given that I completely forgot to build a freezer. That is not a notification you want to get when you only have a day and a half worth of food left. And even worse, my power plant wasn't going to be enough to power all this crap. So I looked to the sky for some backup. If the solar panels could keep a sun lamp up and running during the day, I'd have a lot more electricity to work with. The neighbors decided to throw me a housewarming party. It turns out the White Sound Pack aren't a tribe, they're a goddamn suicide cult. None of these raids have ever worked out for them. Ever. Once I got my first assault rifle, I don't think they ever successfully downed any of my colonists. And here they were, throwing dozens of bodies into the Skater Boy meat grinder. I can respect the dedication, but I'm starting to feel bad. This is the warfare equivalent of a gang of preschoolers challenging me to a fistfight that I said yes to. For legal reasons, I'm not allowed to say that I know what punching an orphan is like, but if I did, it would be a lot like this. Also, I made a discovery. I mentioned last video that Olaf was Peck's kid. Well, it turns out so is Kimmy. I have several members of this man's family in my colony, and I only remember recruiting 2 of them. And speaking of Peck, sleeping on dirt in a wolf hide sleeping bag filled him with crippling depression. Not Tidy though, no, Tidy's an overachiever. If she was having a bad day, then so were my animals. Canny, would you kindly correct this woman's behavior? There we go, thank you. You can sit right there and think about what you almost did. I can't believe you would try to kill my animals like that, good lord. Anyway, Ape, can you butcher that yak for me real quick? Thanks, buddy. I expanded my mining operations. I needed a lot of steel for the defenses I was going to build. Tidy heard that I was being productive and reacted in her usual way. Listen, Tidy. You bitch. You waste of DNA. You BPD-riddled amalgamation of everything I hate in a human being. I need to know what bills you're paying to be slamming my door like that. I got a visit from Peck's stepdad. He seemed nice, so I sold him a few animals. He buggered off just in time for the mechs to crash land next to my house like the pieces of lovely individuals that they are. But they'd have to wait because Haruto's spears were here, and with them was Stevens, Peck's uncle. Peck, get your fucking family under control. You know what? I'll do it for you. There. Problem solved. Don't make that face at me. I didn't take any injuries from that fight, so I decided now was a good time to deal with the robots. They're really not much of a threat if you can get the jump on them. We broke their shit, Tidy calmed down, the mechs heard me talking shit, and they sent some friends to deal with me. So I did what I do best. Sat around and waited for someone else to deal with my problems. I'm sure they'll be fine. The fallout came back. More raiders, more colonists working in peace and harmony, more tidy testing the absolute fuck out of my patience. Nature attacked me with 30 alpha beavers. My colonists were so unfazed by this that they kept doing chores during the fight. A pair of traders picked a really bad time to visit. When Cassandra realized that all she did was give me more food and an unlimited supply of hats, she sent a few insects as a follow-up. They didn't do much better. I couldn't tell if I was being softballed or maybe I really had geared and prepared for anything. So, I took a long, hard look at that ship reactor, and I pushed the button. What followed was 15 days of pure, unadulterated hell. It started out slowly enough, one big horde of mechs that attacked from a single direction. The mortars were loaded, the shells were fired. I either killed or severely crippled half of them in no time flat. When they finally rushed me, they were so staggered that I could just pick them off one at a time. One of them was so far behind that I sent Marullo to go deal with it. I mean, it's one Lancer. If he shoots me, how bad could it be? I've got goddamn power armor on. Cool. Apparently, I enjoyed that raid so much that I thought I'd try it a second time. But guess what, Robo-Satan? I have a kill box now. The sworn enemy of all Rimworld mech hives, 90-degree corners. You think I care that you blew off Marullo's leg? I have free healthcare that doesn't tell you to Roblox yourself, motherfucker. Who needs limbs when you've got this many guns? Haruto's spears tried to steal my strats, and you know what? Good for them. Good for them. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, especially when it means I only have to shell you once and you leave me 2 shiny new mortars to steal. They decided to try the front door. I sent Smokey inside. He's a small, precious bean, and I wouldn't want him to see any of this senseless violence. You'd think the pirates would see the literal fields of abandoned guns just lying around and realize just how unsafe this was. I wish I could tell you they triumphed. I wish I could tell you they fought the good fight. I wish. I added their guns to my growing pile of field artillery. Then, I added them and more of the White Sound Pact to that growing graveyard. I was winning these fights easily, but it was taking its toll on my colony. I constantly had break risks on several of my colonists. If I'm too busy fighting, no one's cooking food, no one's taking breaks or relaxing. I wasn't at risk from the attacks, I was at risk of my colonists more or less killing each other or themselves. This was going to be a long, slow grind that would wear down my colonists. That was Cassandra's tactic, exhausting everything until my colony was too worn down to stop the hordes. The mechs, though, they don't need breaks. They're those type A people, you know what I mean? They've got so much drive that they'll raid you while they raid you. Siege mechs are a problem at the best of times. 2 teams of siege mechs is even worse. This wasn't cold or calculated, this was just mean. There was malice in this tactic. I killed them all, but the White Sound Pact came before I was even finished cleaning up from the fight. Even with my defenses crippled, they still can't do anything to me. I've graduated from punching orphans to kicking paraplegic babies at this point. If my clan was made of cannibals, I don't think I'd ever need food ever again. But they're not cannibals, so instead of eating them, we bury them. A lot of them. This is the price of war. This is the monument of the skater boy will to endure, survive, and thrive. It's also a warning that everyone seems to keep ignoring. Even the mechs weren't aware of the danger they were in. My colonists were hungry, sleep-deprived, and half of them were addicted to go juice at this point. But that didn't stop them from reminding mechanoids that humans brought them into this world. They could take them out just as easily. Living on my planet is a privilege, not a right, and I can revoke that whenever I goddamn please. Jay here, on the other hand, picked a very bad time to come do business with me. Don't worry, bud. I'll make sure to bury you after you're done there. Marullo was shot again. This time, the mechs collapsed his lung. Don't worry, though. The game informed me that it wasn't life-threatening. It was a mild lung failure, nothing a little Robitussin won't fix. Seeing that the reactor was almost finished, Cassandra decided to end things off with a bang by sending 14 raiders with grenades at my wall. They didn't even kill anyone, they just broke my walls, then either died or decided to fuck off. They also downed McKinney, but that's not exactly an issue when you have the only working hospital on this shithole of a rock. Then, finally, it happened. At 4 p.m. on the 11th of September, the Starship reactor finished powering up. After exactly 8 years and 3 quadrums on the Rimworld, my colonists made their way to the cryopods. I smiled with a sense of pride as I watched them flock to the pods. This wasn't the end of an old life, but rather the beginning of a new one. They gathered around, said their farewells to one another, then climbed into the cryostasis chambers. I said goodbye to Nichols, the heart of this operation. He had been my faithful companion for almost 9 long years, and his work was finally finished. McKinney was the last one on board. The pods were sealed, and the engines were prepped. I selected the ship computer core, I hit launch, and I left. What a long, strange journey it's been. I finished the game and my colonists were freed from their struggle. This game has no right to make me feel emotions this strong. Rimworld has so much of the heart and soul that is missing from so many other titles. It's not a point-and-click adventure series. It's not some simple resource management grind. It's everything I want and more out of a video game. And this is only the base version. I wanted to take a minute and say thanks to everyone for encouraging me to play this game. When I made that first video last month, I figured it would be a fun one-off and that would be it. I never expected that there would be this many people watching my progress and cheering me on. It feels like you were all a part of this from beginning to end. Without your suggestions or encouragement, I don't know if I ever would have finished this series. But here we are. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. A special thank you to my patrons, including our newest member, Ghast Hunter 684. You don't know how much your contributions help. More content on the way, so stay tuned. I hope you all had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all next time.